Well, many of you have requested me to take a look at this title, even though the patch notes are quite detailed on what the Pro support actually offers. I thought I would, just in case there's anything additional here, and just where they sit against the PC settings now. They've been updated from the standard PS4 and therefore the Xbox One release. Now, when I covered the game at the time, I was pretty confident the Xbox One used a dynamic resolution, but I was pretty sure that the PS4 was using a static one. Well, from the patch notes, it appears that I and many others were wrong. The game may indeed actually be using also a dynamic resolution on the PS4, but I couldn't find any spots where it dipped. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's alluded to in the patch notes. The game now renders the UI at 4K and the game itself at 1080p, which is an odd statement to make if the game itself was rendering at that resolution on the base PS4. Now, this may just be a turn of phrase that was incorrectly typed in the patch notes, but there's always a risk here, and I do cover that and use that caveat now with many titles. Dynamic resolutions are going to become more popular, specifically for this cross-gen solution that we now have with higher hardware using dynamic resolutions. Means that you can actually custom that in your code already without having to code specifically for certain hardware. Therefore, you can dynamically scale based on what the load is and therefore the GPU resource. We're already seeing that with Pro titles here, and the forthcoming Scorpio this year will also be doing the same thing. So we'll take it as gospel that the title does indeed run a standard 1080p, and that is exactly the same here on the Pro release. And the UI is 4K, but then again, who really cares? It's not going to make a huge difference. You probably notice it maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't get too carried away. The patch notes do state that reflections and shadows have been improved, and even though it's very minor, they certainly have, and they are not lying there. You now get slightly better shadows and slightly better reflections, which you can see with the on-screen comparison now to the base PS4, but these are incredibly minor. It's probably rendering twice the resolution it was before for screen space reflections. Cube maps appear to be identical to the previous version, meaning you're left with slightly better shadow quality now on the consoles and slightly better screen space reflections on the console, well, at least the Pro version at least. And that's pretty much it. Aside this like for like heads-up comparison, you wouldn't really notice it, but you can see the quality of the shadows and reflections is better. So this includes AO shadows and directional light shadows from spotlights, so it now sets at the high setting. It's not the highest that's possible on PC, but it is slightly smoother, and the shadows are probably the ones that stand out more, and they can be quite intensive on GPU use. Everything else is the same. Log drawing is the same, even down to the fact that you do not get the distance view that you can see here on the PC comparison to the base PS4 and the PS4 Pro is identical. Volumetric lights are identical, and that also includes performance, which was never a problem really on both consoles. Sure, you could get some issues in online dark zone play down to 25 on both consoles, and that's probably slightly improved here on the Pro, but I'm not going to dive into that. It wasn't really a problem at all, and in single player action it holds onto its 30 FPS rate pretty solidly. Overall, that's it. It's a very bare bones, really minimal Pro patch. More, I think, inclined to just be in with the crowd than to do anything meaningful. They may have more patches lined up. This is a persistent online world with more DLC incoming, so there might be an updated patch coming soon that improves the resolution beyond 1080 on Pro, maybe even unlocks the frame rate if there is enough headroom there, but that's mostly down to CPU bound, I would imagine, than GPU. But we will have to wait and see. That's just my opinions and thoughts here, nothing concrete. There's no guarantee here at all. We will have to wait and see. But if you do have this game in your collection and you have the Pro, then now you can look at much better shadows and reflections, which make pretty much no difference at all. Anyway, that's it. You guys and girls take care. I hope you enjoyed your new year, and I'll see you on the next one.
This is an urgent health message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.